there it goes off the rails.
And here it's kind of almost just showing some gameplay. It's very honest.
Yeah, impossible to really put words to it. What makes Final Fantasy Final Fantasy?
Yeah. Hey guys, welcome back to another Composers React, and we are here with a special guest, Matthijs Dierckx. We know each other from both industries, the music industry and the game industry, but here mainly because you have been a composer and we needed to do this for a long time already. Very curious, like why are you so attracted to these creative industries? Why, and specifically composition?
It's such a simple question, which is so hard to answer, but the only thing I can think of, which is a cliche, which is that I feel I don't have a choice. I have to create music. I have to come up with melodies, and I'm always making music in my head.
It is awesome because you are this very natural storyteller, and then you go cross medium because like you also have release your own book.
Yes.
So
yes.
You're not only writing music, you're also writing text, and also, of course, how I kind of remember you writing all these reviews in this game magazine that I was reading when I was a young kid.
Decades ago. I'm old.
And then composition and books. I love that you have found this way to convey all these emotions through this media and entertainment.
Thank you.
It's really
and
good.
I really, really enjoy creating all of it.
Then again, we are here to react on specifically music and sound, and we ask every composer to bring one of their favorite trailers or something that is very close to them. What did you bring?
I brought a trailer for Final Fantasy XII.
Here we go. Final Fantasy, huge worlds.
Yes.
And
yeah.
they have made many.
Yes. So this is number 12.
Shall we just dive into the trailer and
Yes.
see what it evokes?
Okay.
Square. Ooh, very romantic.
This is already bringing back memories.
Oh yeah, I've played some Final Fantasy. These worlds.
This bit also inspired a bit in my book.
Yeah, I understand. Okay. Just music, no sound.
Yes.
So Final Fantasy vibe. A little bit of sound here. Flamboyant soundtrack. Here we go. A lot of gameplay.
Building.
And I should start to play one of the Final Fantasies again. Here we go, it keeps building. Interesting, the music doesn't really stop at the logo, it just continues. What builds? Final Fantasy.
The most interesting bit about this trailer to me is it mirrors the production of the music itself. Because Final Fantasy XII was the first entry in this series, which was not composed by Nobuo Uematsu, which is the famous Japanese composer.
Yeah.
And he made all this very famous music for Final Fantasy 1 till 11. And for 11, a couple of other composers also wrote some music. But this was the first time that he didn't write the whole soundtrack. He wrote one song for it.
Okay.
So the new composer, I don't know if I'm going to pronounce his name correctly, Hitoshi Sakimoto.
It sounds pretty good.
What he did is he took a couple of the tunes that were used in 1 till 11, and he made his own versions of it. And then he continued to add his own music. So, and that's what the trailer is doing. So the first half of the trailer is an existing tune from Final Fantasy. It's being used since the first one.
It iterates on that kind of to build up to kind of a moment. So it really mimics what you have in the game itself. And especially after so many, we have had like Harry Potter as well, you constantly need to reinvent kind of this world as Final Fantasy. So such a hard task as a composer, come up with something new, but also stay true to the franchise.
Yeah, and I think he succeeded in it. Especially the second half of the trailer is what the game actually sounds like mostly. The weird thing is it doesn't lift the whole game to another level like some soundtracks do. For instance, in my opinion, the Interstellar soundtrack makes Interstellar better.
It really pushes those boundaries to evoke these emotions even more extreme than the image lets you.
Yes. But with Final Fantasy XII, you have this whole world, which is like magic and technology, and also medieval stuff with kings, and then really modern stuff. And what the music does very well is somehow glue this all together and make it one whole. And it evokes the emotions it should evoke without, like playing this super important role that sometimes other soundtracks do. But still, to me, it's memories. It's an amazing soundtrack, and I really, really love it.
It's interesting because I think it's not so much of like a trailer piece. Like it's not really overselling. And we were talking about this before. Is sometimes you have now the trailer is like so good that it's overselling what the game is or what the movie is. This is actually what you see is what you get. Like it's really that feeling. It doesn't really go. If I would make a trailer like this, or we as a team would create something like this, we probably would
more epic.
Make it almost like a definitely more epic. But we would make it more of a story as its own. And here it's kind of almost just showing some gameplay. It's very honest.
Yeah. I don't know if it's the best choice, but I liked it because it tells more about the music than most other trailers do. Yeah. The music in the game, and since the music in these kinds of games play a very important role, I think it's very important to use the music from the game itself.
It's a very specific style as well. Like I played 9, I know, and 10. And there's this whole adventure, not only on adventure in the game, the story, but also a musical adventure that you go through. And I think there's like a fusion of jazz sometimes in it with some of action, some rock is in there, and I think that's a nice palette. And especially if you have the Western world and you have more the Asian world and clashing together, you get this very interesting mix. And nowadays, this is like extremely popular, especially with games like Dokuvi, for example, coming out. They clash it again together, this Asian style mixed with Western worlds. It's a very interesting combination.
Very interesting, but in my opinion, if you look at Final Fantasy 15, there it goes off the rails. No, it's serious.
Off the rail there.
Yeah, well, musically and in terms of gameplay, and you follow this boy band.
Yeah.
And they meet this girl who talks in this really South American, South States accent. It's really conflicting with the style of the rest of the game. And then you have this sort of country and Western music in it. And it's to me, it's really, really ugly. And it's the Japanese developers trying to accommodate a Western audience, whilst the Western audience loved those games because of their being so Japanese.
I think it can miss the point. So if it's too much of a mimic and you try to mimic a culture that you don't understand, then you get maybe these very awkward ideas or awkward depictions. I do like the mix between where it's not one or the other. It stays in the middle somewhere. And I think I felt it with Final Fantasy, why I thought it was good and such a rich adventures and so rich on the fantasy world and kind of challenging you also to think a little bit out of the box if you think about stories.
Yeah.
Is interesting. And you say with 15 they go a little bit like off the rail.
To me, but it's a personal taste. You were talking about Final Fantasy X.
Yeah.
To me, Final Fantasy X is one of the best stories ever written, not just in games, but in general. It's such a great story.
Yeah.
And the music in that game does really lift it elevates it to another level.
Very interesting franchise what they did, and it's very specific. I even said it during the trailer. I said it's something so Final Fantasy.
Yeah.
So it's their own world, and I love
it's
that.
It's almost impossible to really put words to it. What makes Final Fantasy Final Fantasy?
Yeah,
but it's really special.
It's definitely a fantasy, and I love how that's. And in the beginning, when I got this Final Fantasy thing, I didn't know what it was exactly until you play it, and then you start to understand what kind of games these are.
Yeah, yeah.
Really good. Last thing, do you think so? What you have seen in this trailer, because these games are huge.
Yeah, they are.
They just show you a small part of it. Do you think it's showing enough visually, musically? Do you think it's a good little snapshot of what you can expect from this?
They were holding back a bit too much. I think they were really into, like, let's cut these action scenes, these fight scenes on the music. But the vistas, the grandeur was a bit lacking from this trailer. So it's actually a bit bigger. The actual game is bigger than presented in this trailer.
All right. I definitely think it's bigger. It does kind of bring the nostalgia back, and I know the remake of 7 was there, and I haven't played it. Maybe I should pick it up again. I've never played 7.
No?
No.
No, I wasn't able to finish the original because I really got tired of the random encounters, but I did play the remake, and I really, really enjoyed it.
Thank you for bringing this back. Final Fantasy, we haven't had it on the channel yet, so there's many more to go. But yeah, definitely, if you haven't played and you're interested in this like rich fantasy, dive into the world, make you forget about this world that we are in, this base reality, or what we think is base reality, I think it's interesting to dive in this one. Thank you for bringing this one. If you like these kind of videos and you have suggestions, please let us know in the comments. Let us know what you think and what your favorite Final Fantasy is. We're curious about that. For now, I want to thank you for watching and see you next time. Hey there, I appreciate you watching the video. If you like this one, check out this video or that video. And if you want to support the channel, make sure to click on top of my head on the logo and subscribe to the channel.